Kathleen Higgins. I'm interviewing Greg Hayes today. He's running for the 4th District, Pennsylvania House of Representatives. And we're here today to ask him a few questions and get to know him and his platform. So Greg, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, who you are, and we'll just start with that and we'll have a conversation. How's that sound?
Sure. My name is Greg Hayes. I am from Edinburgh, lifelong. I have been doing a lot of local stuff for quite a long time. My mother was a teacher. My father was a principal for 30 years, both. It was always interesting growing up in an educational household such as that. So I had that experience ingrained into me. And then obviously I've been in this area for such a lengthy period of time. I've been a business owner for about 42 years. I owned an excavating landscaping kind of business for 25. And then I've been at the Erie Airport, now Meadville Airport, with North Coast Flight School we're the largest and the only 141 school in this area. So we're proud of that.
And a little bit about your former background. You used to work with quite a few Olympians.
I did a lot of stuff with skiing. I spent time with the U.S. ski team. I was a coach for years. I've worked with children quite thoroughly throughout my whole adult life. The one thing that was kind of unique is when we took what we used to do with skiing and put it into the aviation, thus created Aero Camp, which is around the nation.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great. What would some people say about you today after knowing you've been over, all these years throughout your career? You have over 40 years of experience in different things. What would people say about you? Well,
we do grow and change as we go, and then that's probably one of the biggest things I bring to this, is I think most people would say I'm a very driven person. I'm very much into knowing the transparency of anything we're doing. I want to understand what's going on. Like some of the things that have happened, some of the funding, it's very difficult for people to track. I want complete accountability. I want to know where things go and why they're going there and how things get tied together.
So your tagline is experience and relationships to get things done. And you and I have talked about that.
Right.
And what exactly does that mean? I mean,
it unfortunately or
what
fortunately,
does it mean?
One way or another, that is the way things are done in the Capitol, in any lawmaking body. It's due to your relationship with some other lawmaker. If they know you, they trust you, or they know where you stand, that takes time. And that's what I've been working with for the last 10 years, working with the Aviation Council in Harrisburg, going down, actually sitting and getting to know these people. Because unfortunately, that's the way things are done. We need what we need for up here in the 4th District. Okay. The only way we're going to get it is to have those relationships.
Okay. So then let's move into your platform. You have outlined various things. I mean, there's a lot of things on the table that are important to a lot of different people. I mean, we could name about 50 things. Right. On day one, what would you do? When you walk in the door?
All right.
Tell me more about
that's the thing
on your platform. What are you going to do?
Right, and that's the thing I was asking everybody is, what are you going to do day one? We don't have time for people to build these relationships that we were just talking about. Or, so when I get in there, first day, one of the things that has to happen, we've all heard the stories about different companies coming into our area, and then nothing ever really seems to happen. But we need jobs. We need to have something. Yes, we need schools. There's so many different venues on this. But right now, one of the biggest things, first day one, is trying to lower the corporate tax rate. Government doesn't provide jobs. Government provides an atmosphere that allows jobs to grow. Private industry is what produces jobs. And private industry only looks at the bottom line. If the numbers are so much higher here than they are for like Ohio or New York or Tennessee or some of these that are really getting these large companies to come in. Of course they're not going to come here. So we need to work on that. We need to stop the job drain, the brain drain, everything that's going out of this area, and start bringing things back in.
Okay, so that's the first thing. What would be other things that you might be a champion of for the in the area?
Well, back in 2009, then Vice President Joe Biden came to the Erie International. They had a meeting over in Waterford, and it was all about broadband access for rural communities. That was 2009. They're just now getting around to starting a committee on that. Well, with that being said, you can see how slow they move on this. But when the pandemic came in, and everybody was working from home, everybody was either doing their schooling from home, it all of a sudden presented a real need. How can you expect that to be able to be done if you don't provide them the tools to have it? So therefore, what was looked at in 2009 realistically must be done now. And I understand it. It's not a convenience. It's an everyday way of life and necessity. If we're going to ask our children to succeed, we at least have to give them the tools.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then you have been real big with several of the parents groups in the area, one of which is the Erie County PA, Parents Protecting Children.
Right.
They have over 1,800 members. The group that I head up, one of the members there
Right.
at General McLean, we have over 450 members of parents and community members, kind of being the watchdog for what's going on since the pandemic has occurred. Tell us more about that. Tell us how you got involved in that.
I got involved in that at very early stages. I remember when there was about 10 members. And we actually had our first meeting at my school. I wasn't running for anything at the time. I was just a private citizen looking at something that means a lot to me. I mean, when you look at some of the things, the mask idea and everything they originally fought for, yes, was very visible. It meant a lot when they won, you know. I don't know how to put that, but they got rid of the mask. Okay, great, everyone was happy. But realistically, the curriculum, what they're actually teaching the children is really the substance of this. So, I mean, I've been in it from day one, their first meeting being up at my school, all the way down to, you know, the way things are now.
You've been to almost every school board.
I've been to every school board meeting in this county.
In the district, right?
In the whole, in the whole district. And, well, not just there, because I've been to Mill Creek, I've been to a few others.
Northeast.
Northeast is
Or not Northeast, Northwestern.
I've been to Northwestern. You know, it's not about just this campaign. This is something we have to believe in. You know, you hear all kinds of taglines about kids, but let's face it, that's what it's all about. That's what matters. And with my upbringing with my parents, you know, the one thing I swore I'd never do is have anything to do with education when I was a child, but unfortunately, that
But you're
didn't work
teaching
out.
all the time.
I own a school, so that doesn't really work into that idea. So obviously my passion's there. It's what I was raised with. And to see some of the twists and turns that these school boards have done, we need people to get involved in school boards that you know, are active, are willing to make the effort, because we have to have our scores where they need to be as far as the basics. After that, we'll add things as we can, but we have to take care of the basics.
Okay. And then, so we talked about the economic development, we talked about broadband, parental rights, being a champion for the parents. What else is on the agenda?
I mean, there are so many things that have not happened. I mean, where I live in Edinburgh was always under the 3rd District Democratic Representative Bizzarro. And that's who I ran against last term. And now with the redistricting, it makes it very difficult to get the word out for each individual community. We want to be able to represent them. We want to be able to bring their word out and get it to Harrisburg and make it noisy. Because unfortunately, sometimes people in Harrisburg look at Pennsylvania is a rectangle. That little bump up there, for some reason they forget about it. Well, the only way we're going to get this done is through, as you asked me earlier, with these relationships. My ability to be able to get in to talk to certain people of power and be able to bring our message. I want to be able to, why not have meetings every time we have breaks? We'll move it around the community. I want to hear what the problems are. Unfortunately, now with the size of this new district, we have people that are going to be living in Girard Lake City that are going to be talking of how do we know what's going on in Northeast or Corey or Union City. I mean, people in Edinburgh barely know what's going on in Waterford. I understand these differences, and we're going to have to tie it together.
Okay. So what makes you specifically and uniquely different that stands out amongst the other candidates? I mean, there's five other candidates.
Yeah, I'd say hands down experience, the people that I've worked with. I mean, if you don't have that on day one, you're going to spend that whole, at least the entire first term, just getting to that point. Let's save time. We don't have time for it.
Let's talk about the experience. I mean, how many committees have you been on, and I guess the importance of those committees? I mean, you're on the airport authority, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm on the airport authority right now. I was chairman of the board of the National Flight School Association for the whole country. I did that for 4 years. You know, I've been, you know, commander of the Erie Power Squadron. I've been involved in so many different aspects. And the thing that's neat about it is you learn from each and every one of them. And all that time that I've spent is the time that I want to be able to now navigate what's going to be best for the people here.
So you sound like you're a lifelong learner and you want to bring that to the table.
Right. I'm 60 years old. I've spent my life learning. I was the 20-some-year-old at one time. You know, I had to learn sometimes the hard way. But I want to take that experience, that knowledge, everything that I've learned from that amount of time, and now help the people here.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to let the public know today about you? And you know, this is your second time running, and unfortunately, you know, you wake up after the last election, you thought you won it, and then you...
Well, yeah, I mean, right now, there's so many factions in the Republican Party that we got to work together. They understand that, you know, the more we're divided, obviously, the more it's easier for them to get their word out. Well, we have to be the watchdogs of what's going on. I am looking for a position to do something for my area. I'm looking for a position to use the experience that I've had. The experience I've had over the last 10, 15 years, you're not going to get, a lot of it was sheer luck. I took that luck and I actually used it to get these relationships. This is how things are done. If we don't do something like this, we're going to end up spending time that we don't have just to get to this point. I'm asking you for your vote. And I please hope you understand this is something I want to do for District 4.